Hello, my funky friends. I'm quite sure some of you have noticed there's a certain scale that I do really like to play a lot. Let's learn to play the blues. The blues is a pretty funky kind of music. There's many ways to play the blues. There's the gospel blues. There's the boogie woogie kind of blues. And there are so many options with the blues. If we look at the scale and compare it to the major scale, we find that the blues, the major blues, is just a shorter scale that is missing some notes and having some extra notes. If we actually really looking closely, we can see that the blues is actually just a slight modification of the pentatonic scale. And that is just adding one black key, the flat 3. We are just adding the flat 3 to the pentatonic. And that introduces an instant feel of modal mixture. As with this flatted 3, we have a minor third. And a minor third means we feel minor. But then we're at the major 3 and we feel not so mellow. That's why the blues often has these slide notes from the flat 3. Sometimes played slowly. Sometimes played like a slide note or trill or grace note. I like it especially when it's played in a very low register. Bo-da-dee-do. Just make up some generic blues lyrics. You know how it goes. It's pretty much always the same thing. Either you lost your job, your dog died, God forbid, your girl left you, you lost the house, lost the health, but never the spirit though. That's the gospel kind of blues. Oh, yeah, yes, the Lord, oh, yeah. Well, I have the Lord to help. But I ask the Lord to save my soul before I'm getting way too old. That would be a way to make a pretty classic kind of, I don't know, it feels like kind of saloon blues. Yeah, I pray the Lord to save my soul before I'm getting way too old now. I'm telling it all like it is. They were right, ignorance is bliss. Where's all the whiskey in the world? All these things can be unseen and nothing can be unheard, yeah. But now don't try to lose my mind. That's why we play this blues, yeah. That would be a pretty simple way to start comping for yourself, with some simple blues in 2 hands. Really, it's like super classic standard chords. And what is happening there, I'll explain in a little. Well, let's continue our little noodle. I actually enjoyed these fun impromptu lyrics. Yeah, pray the Lord my soul to take. No, that was wrong. I pray the Lord to save my soul before I'm getting way too old. Oh, yeah. Yeah, pray the Lord to, ooh, maybe to move up a register. Da 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 da. I'll get back to what we played originally. I wanted to play something pretty. Anyway, let's get back to our initial bluesy thing. So, what could we do with the blues? The blues is a beautiful kind of music that, as I say, when we look at the scale, when we compare it to the major pentatonic, which is quite like C major or any major scale, but so much simpler, getting rid of the semitone step. So we have a scale that is, as the name suggests, just 5 tones. And all the blues scale is the pentatonic with one more note, the flat 3. Because that is so, we get to play 2 chords on our one. We get to play a major chord if we want it like that. But also, we can play a minor triad on that because we have the flat 3. That's why you hear so many blues licks going in and out of the flat 3 and the natural 3. Or if we were in a minor context, we had that same thing just shifted, like 3 semitones. Then we would have the 1, the flat 3, the 4, the flat 5, the 5, and the flat 7. I'll put that in there later, but let's focus on thinking about what the blues is and how it makes us feel and why it's funky and why it's so beautiful and why it is so diverse. It can be the most simple music on earth, but it can be so much more. It can be crazy in a blues context when you mix other scales in there, like the scale that I will be spending the next rest of my life talking about, the major bebop scale, as Cordy would call it. But like I said, I prefer the name the diminished 6 scale, and then our left-hand comping chords wouldn't sound like the archetype of all blues chords when we start our beginner's blues. This is the best way to start. Just a super bread and butter C7. It's as good as they come. Can't go wrong with this one. Never. Can play an arpeggio on your left hand like a walking bass. Maybe some of you did this before. We take the 1, the 3, the 5, the 6, the flat 7, and then we go back down. And we try to make it swing a little. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. I really believe in singing phrases because nothing is more natural than your intuitive vocal ideas that you can express out of your body, from your soul. Because if I can't sing it, I probably can't play it because I really haven't heard it yet. I caught a glimpse of it, but the hearing and the is not yet there. And that's the way how we could make this C7 walk in our left. Say we going to be kind of trying to make life a little bit easier on our brain first, and we will try not to play too many different notes in our other hand. We actually won't play any other notes in our right hand. So we play C7. Oh, hey, hey, hey. You got the blues every day. Okay, it's not our other chord in there that we will be needing. We will be going from a C7, or we could call it also 1 dominant 7, to abstract it from its key. We're going to the 4 dominant 7, and we can really, like a 12-bar blues often really is just yeah, I got the blues, oh yeah. And then we have our last chord, the G7. And then we go back, basically. I wasn't really absolutely true to the meter, but kind of the 12-bar blues is 12 bars of going in between a major 7th chord, another major 7th chord, and another 7th chord. Yeah, very often. But let's maybe do a little thing like da ba da ba boo bop ba da ba dee doo bop ba da ba dee doo bop ba da ba da doo bop ba da ba dee doo bop. That would be a good way to kind of get into these kinds of rhythms that we sometimes hear. My hand independence is not that great, but often sometimes you can kind of try to tell your hands they are an ensemble because they are. And they will be doing call and response lines like you hear in blues so often. So we maybe go be in 1 and 2 3, in 1 and 2 3. But we're not gonna play the entire walking blues. That is let's play something that's maybe less intricate. So we can basically start trying to find our first beginner blues. Going from a 1/7 to a 4/7, because if we just try to get rid of all the other notes, what is the cadence? So what is cadence? Cadence is like what we would sing if we just were looking at the root note motion, what we would be able to sing, like da 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 da. In this case, the cadence is a perfect fourth because we are traveling 5 semitones. Da da. A very, very often used cadence that you will sometimes hear described as plagal cadence, but these are just words. What's important is that we can remember these intervals in our ear. Da, da. Okay, so we are going from our 1 chord, and our example is C dominant 7, or just C7 for short. We don't need to throw around all these words. To the nice face chord, or F7. We can do this forever, kind of. Yeah, I have the blues, oh Lord, yeah. Well, I got the blues all day. Whoa, Lord, I got the blues. Lord, I got the blues, yo, hey. And very often, actually, you would be doubling the chord like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That sounds familiar. Da, ba, da, da. Or you could also play it in a kind of oompa rhythm. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I got the blues so low. Oh, sorry. And that's important. Then I often miss this importance. It is a kind of famous saying, like that I don't know if they're how is it in English? Like my German is my native tongue, so it may not be super easy. If it's what do I want to say? The notes that you are playing are important, but the pauses in between actually are too. Like if we're going from and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Well, it's good to have resting points somewhere. Sorry, I'm playing random stuff. Now we try to maybe incorporate our right hand and trying to come up with maybe some melodic phrases. First, we will try to get a basic control in our hands for the fingering. There's many ways, also often really depending on context. Where do we start to play it? Depending on your hand size. Maybe not the most beautiful answer, but otherwise, the basic fingering is often also how your relaxed hand kind of would fall onto the key naturally. Not always, but very often. Your hands and the passages or whatever you're trying to play will tell you quite quickly otherwise. If the fingering is not adequate, it will often just not be possible to execute. So, but in our case, for very often we can get away using the blues scale with 3 fingers. Sometimes even just 2. I could play entire runs just using 2 fingers. Try to give your fingers assignments. Of course, when you really play and perform, you will be using all that you have, but in practice, it's a good place to isolate certain aspects and to focus in on them. Like focus in on maybe some trills and accentuations on your weaker hands or weaker fingers, and maybe polyrhythms, whatever it may be, anything that you try to express where you find when you actually try to play it, now that you get stuck or stumble, these are the best places. I like learning on demand. Don't fix what's not broken, you know? Just learn what you need to be more expressive. Okay, I just play random stuff. I'm sorry. Let's get back to our basic scale. We go back to the blues scale. And we can just start to see our favorite blues musicians probably came up with some licks. They were just practicing the blues scale and got boring. And they were not in the mood to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Because let's be honest, that's not very musical and gets old real fast. So what does our brain do? It will do some pattern interruptions. Because it wants something new. Da ba da 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 da. I heard a phrase that I didn't play yet. Sometimes try to sing simultaneously, sing after, or sing before you play. Real good practice. Absolutely off key, I'm sorry. Usually that would be a troll, but let's do it slow and simple. Yeah, I got the blues on. That would be a good way to start. And 1 and 2, 3. We could put in one extra note, and that would be sort of just one additional note. Actually, very often I do like adding one more note to the blues scale very often. In this case here, it would be adding A flat. That would be a flat 6. Yeah. And why would I want to do that? Because the major blues scale has a brother or sister, twin sister, just like the natural major scale has a twin brother or sister, which is the natural minor scale that shares exactly the same notes. It just starts at a different spot in the sequence. And in this case, it is just the same way. If you try to find the natural parallel scale, minor scale of any major scale, you can do this little thing where you go down 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. You go down 3 semitones, because then you land on the 6 of the scale. That's where you find your minor chord, or at least one of your minor chords. I hope I'm not too confusing. And that is really the nice thing about the blues. You can go in and out of the major and the minor. Do da di do, Do da di do da di do da di do da da di do da da di da di do da di do da di do. Do do da di da do da bo da da di do da 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 di do. Going to incorporate a little bit more free shuffling. Do dee do da do dee do dee do dee do da do dee do da do dee do dee bo re do ra do re do re do de do da do de do de bo be bo ba bo be bo ba bo be be ba bo be oops sorry bo be bo ba bo tre ra ro bo be bo up bo ba bo be bo rat do da da da. There's so many ways how you can chop up these simple 6 notes. And I really find that because it is too easy on the piano to play too complex stuff, it's probably not always easy to sing. It's not that I'm saying you have to be able to sing everything, but more often than not, if you can perform any kind of music somewhat vocally, it will probably be better. That is subjective, but I believe, yeah, if you can whistle a tune, it will stick with you. Where I hear the blues all day, and then I played some piano, and I felt okay. It just makes me feel, I don't know, all blue. Also, let's try to find an inversion of our G7. I don't feel like jumping around that much. Let's invert that down. So now we can go from our F7 to this G7 over F. So we share the same root note going from our 4 to our 5, right? So we have this. We can jump over, but actually, you know what? Let's try to make a little bit better voice leading. Let's try, we could have it like them. There's a lot of blueses that go like this. But we ain't gonna do ragtime boogie woogie because I'm not the guy to perform ragtime. That is way beyond my level. I don't have the basic fundamentals for that covered yet, because it really involves some rather intricate hand independencies and some really big jumps. I think ragtime really isn't for everyone. Certainly it is one that involves higher coordination power. Not to mention that the average speed or BPM of ragtime, it is on the up tempo. It is quite fast, to say the least. So how could we make it so that we find some chords that are, of course, our changes going from our fake 12 bar blues from our 1 dominant 7, in this case C7, to our 4 chord, to our 5. But how could we make nicer voice leading? We already made one inversion for the G7, but let's find an inversion for our C7 so we don't have to move as much. Let's invert it upwards maybe. Let's find our first inversion. That's quite nice, but maybe let's invert it one more time. I can already see it will be closer. And I must have made some mistake, haven't I? Yes, I did. That looks better. So we have our C7 over G in second inversion. So that means we have a very simple way to play our simple progression that is going now from C7 over G, our 1 chord, to F7, the only chord that is still in root position, and then we can go to our G chord if we want to. But that way we have a way to calm for ourselves and start exploring the blues scale in our other hand without having to jump. That way we don't have to watch two hands if we have to. And because our hand is pretty stationary, we can learn to play these almost stationary changes and I want to play more chords.